For a switch to feel right, it must have the right relationship between detent torque and drag torque. With too little detent torque, it's difficult to feel the switch positions, and too much detent torque makes the knob so hard to turn that it jumps several positions when it does turn. Since detent torque is proportional to the detent spring load, comparing the spring loading angle for best switch operation with the relaxed spring configuration and the circuit board layout will show why these switches did not work well. The spring loading angle should be 15 degrees for mode switches and 19 degrees for main and delayed sweep switches. Previously, the angle between spring arms was 180 degrees plus or minus 10 degrees, which is a large variation compared to the 15 degree or 19 degree desired spring load. The angle has been re-specified for 180 degrees plus or minus 2 degrees. The board layout was also faulty. The spring pivot point was wrong, making the switch harder to turn in one direction. Anchor holes were provided for a spring load of 20 degrees or 30 degrees on some boards, 25 degrees or 35 degrees on other boards. These problems have been corrected on the new layout, which provides only one spring anchor hole at either 15 or 19 degrees of loading, depending on the board involved. With these changes, the switches should work well when assembled. However, switches with old boards or old detent springs may require some adjustment. A screwdriver can be used to move the spring from one anchor hole to another. This can also be done with a board in the instrument. If the switch cannot be adjusted for the right torque with the existing anchor holes, drill a new hole. To mark the position for a new hole, release the anchored spring end and scribe an arc with it. Then scribe across the arc 1 to 1.5 hole diameters, center to center, from the existing anchor hole. After drilling, blow the chips away from the switch and anchor the spring. If it's necessary to drill out the spring mounting rivet, first disassemble the switch and clean the board to avoid getting chips in the switch contacts. After the rivet is drilled out, lubricate the board, reassemble the switch, and install a new roller, spring, and rivet. The switches may be checked with a torque watch before installing them in an instrument. Mode switches should turn from full detent at a torque of 10 to 16 ounce-inches. Delayed and main sweep switches should turn at a torque of 12 to 20 ounce-inches. Sometimes switches turn hard because of too much drag torque, which could be caused by a bent contact, a board that is too thick, no rotor bearing surface, or no bushing in the board. To check drag torque, release the detent spring and turn the switch with a torque watch. Switches should turn with 2 to 6 ounce-inches of torque. Another method of adjusting the detent spring is by bending. This method is less accurate than drilling a new hole. It changes the rotor position and makes the switch harder to turn in one direction than the other. If this method is used, the bend should be made as close as possible to the rivet to minimize rotor movement, as this could cause the switch to be in the wrong electrical position. A binding shaft can also make a switch hard to turn. All shaft sections should turn freely. Another problem has been that the anti-rotation collar was installed improperly, so that a switch would often end up between detent positions when the collar and stop pin were engaged. The correct way to install the collar is with it engaging the stop pin from the clockwise direction. On 1701B, 1703A, and 1707B instruments, the stop pin on the main sweep time board should be checked to see if it's engaged when the main sweep knob is in the 0.1 microsecond position. If not, remove the stop pin and solder in a right angle pin, part number 0360-1788, instead. As mentioned before, when the correct board layout and springs are used, no adjustment should be necessary. With old parts, however, adjusting the switch can make a big difference in operation. The changes for these switches are documented in Purchased Part Change Request number 78237, Production Change number 8-11671, Change number 8-11707, and Change number 8-12639.